with Faraz Shaukatali.
Good morning and a very warm welcome to Newsline, live from the Newsfirst studios in Dawson Street in Colombo, and as we are going to do once a fortnight, my guest is my colleague, Bandula Jayasekara. Good morning, Bandula.
Good morning, Faraz.
And how the devil are you?
Good.
Bandula, you've served in the former government, and you must now be able to view it from afar. How do you gauge the performance of the foreign minister, for example? Is he doing a good job?
I would say the foreign minister is doing a good job because the people whom I had served, Rohit Bogalagama, he was following his own agenda, wasting public money very badly for his personal gains. He has to reduce the peons and the drivers overtime, and he spent. Everybody knew about his lavish spending.
Is it true that, just talking about him, I read at that time something about a birthday party for a member
in Washington
for his family member, and the embassy was asked to settle the bill.
An embassy had refused to, but we still don't know whether these monies are paid. There's so much things we need to check.
Yes,
so
and the FCID only have 35 officers, and they can't be looking at
he
too many.
Spent a lot, and then this is what happened, and lots of people oppose, and it's very unfortunate that when he went to say goodbye, that's the time where the minor staff, the drivers and others booed him.
Oh, really?
When he left. It's sad, but that happened. So this is where you should not, that time, lots of us told the president at the time, but he would have, people should be able to remove people when they are not accepted.
What was the President Rajapaksa's problem? Why was he not able to listen to, in this case, constructive criticism, and which would help him in the long term? Why was he unable to listen to that?
But President Rajapaksa had a way, but which we cannot approve of it. But his style was okay. He let Rohit Bogalagama loose. He was from Nikavarati, then he moved to Kotte. I'm sure President Rajapaksa at the time knew that Rohit Bogalagama will lose the elections. So that was his way. He couldn't say, okay, he couldn't remove him. He said, okay, fine, you and you. Then he lost. That's what happened. But
is he a bit soft then? Is he a bit of a softie?
I would say so. He'll forget. He'll forget, and then people had taken advantage of those situations.
But if he was a softie, and it appears that way, what about Lasantha Wickrematunge then? Lasantha was, by the President Rajapaksa's own admission, his friend, and
then they had discussions.
They had evening trysts, and where obviously the President was picking Lasantha's brain, and as to
but
what
I would
he
say
knew.
Still it's a mystery. People, the truth has to come out. There's so many truths. People are waiting for so many.
But what's annoying is the President and some senior ministers, within days of the incident, the unfortunate incident, said that they knew and they would release all the details. It's 7 years later, we're still waiting.
Still waiting, and when I would say the new government is there, so even this government can get the information and release it.
But how much of this evidence would be destroyed? There's a book that's missing and so on.
A book?
The police, an entry book.
Yeah, now same way they have now found out about Tajuddin's case.
Yes.
Things are coming out, because you cannot hide the truth for so long. One day it will come out. Whether you have done wrong or I have done wrong, things will come out one day.
Do you think we'll ever get to the bottom of who stoned and attacked this company?
But I have heard,
bombed.
Yeah, but there are evidence. We have said it in our program.
Yeah.
So it's time now. Even with the change, we have video evidence.
Yes.
People have to come out and do away with essential, because people are waiting for the truth.
Yeah.
So people have to be punished, but nothing happens in this country. It's not, I mean,
That's the problem, isn't it, Bandula? Nothing happens. You've hit the nail on its head. Nothing happens. Now,
and people, if anybody has done wrong, people have to be punished, people have to be rehabilitated. After that, okay, forgive them, but you can't forgive them just like that. I'll tell you a good story where Mr. Lalit Veeratunga related, Secretary to the President. The former President suddenly says, okay, get rid of this fellow, sack him.
yeah.
Then he's sacked. This person is removed. Then after 2 weeks, now that the man who was sacked or who was wrong goes to the former president and says, you know, I have some problem. He cries for lies and he says, take me back. Then the president calls Lalit Veeratunga and says, Lalit, take him. Now Lalit is the one who has removed him as Secretary to the President.
Yeah.
So then Lalit has to then take him.
Yeah.
So what later Lalit Veeratunga had done was, now then Lalit told me, look, I lose my face.
Yeah.
I've lost my face because I have to take this person.
Yeah.
Because he's the Secretary to the President.
Yeah.
Then what Lalit had done was, when the former president says, okay, remove this man, he doesn't do anything. Because he knows after 2 weeks, President Rajapaksa would say, okay, now take him. Then Lalit hasn't lost his face, because otherwise what Lalit said was, those people who he removes,
what
what
do you think Lalit did thereafter? Do you think when he was asked to remove somebody, he'd tell that chap, listen, don't be seen,
Yes.
don't come back for 2 weeks.
Yes.
Everything will work itself out.
Yeah, because otherwise it was loss of face for Lalit. Because
Indeed.
this guy would come back, now Secretary to the President had removed him, he'll laugh at him. So he didn't want to lose
But,
his face.
you know, when you are serving in under such a powerful person, and in fact, President Sirisena, as we speak, and in this presidency, has more or less exactly the same powers as President Rajapaksa did, apart from the important roles of not being able to dissolve parliament and so on. But the presidency is so powerful that, what do you think would have happened to you, for example, if he said to you, Bandula, I want you to pay $50,000 for minister's birthday party, just pay it. And if you'd said, well, no, I'm not going to do that because
Oh, I don't have the money to pay.
don't have the money, I will send it, you pay it. And if you said, well, no, I'm so sorry, but I don't want to appear before some police authority after I finish my term to answer questions because it's wrong. If you took a stance like that, for example, well, would you think?
People have taken stances. I have been wrong thrice.
Yeah.
Right, but then we couldn't fight against the rocks. You know, they were so powerful. I'm a wrong man. But I have fought back.
Yeah.
I'll tell you a good incident. I have no problem of saying this.
Yeah.
When I took over as the Director General of President's Media, there was a person who I thought he was undesirable, who is to abuse. I didn't want him to go. Right, I didn't want him to go, and then he said, then I was in India, then he has gone and cried and said, because he couldn't write, he couldn't report.
Right.
He has said, okay, take him. So I was given a free hand, or I was told that I will be given a free hand. That was a tour to Bangladesh. That was would have been my first state official visit as the Director General of President's Media. I refused to go. And I said, I am not going because this person was included. I had to do a briefing daily, which I called the next day. He has gone to Bangladesh. At 6 in the morning I called. So I gave my briefing in this 10 points, and then he asked me sarcastically, where are you? I said, I'm in Sri Lanka. So I would say, I have learned this from late Lakshman Kandragama, you can fight within the system. You will be a loser, you can fight within the system. So I would also say this with respect to President Rajapaksa. If you stood up, he respected you. See, most of these politicians want you to be a yes man, to say yes to everything. When you really stand up, they do respect, because they know all these people will say yes, they'll bend down backwards. So they also, any politicians or anywhere, if you stand up, you don't have to have the money, they would respect you.
And is it true, Bandula? Did they sort of have they, as in the president and the former Treasury Secretary, Was there shouting matches? One side.
I haven't seen. I haven't seen. This I did my thing and I moved out. That always helps because people want everybody wants henchmen around. But you should
now,
do your
now
thing.
this need for henchmen has resulted in this PR disaster for the Rajapaksa family, in the sense when we're talking about Wasim Tajuddin.
Yes.
Now there's a OIC of some police station,
Narayanpeta
police station, who's being arrested. I think he's been remanded on because he's supposedly messed about with the evidence. Now obviously all these people were trying to score brownie points, and it's now backfired on them, whereas the people they were trying to score brownie points with are essentially not involved. Do you think that culture will change? Is it changing?
No, I think it's changing. People are scared to do this because one day they will get caught. Most of the politicians will try to say do this. But if you stand up, I mean, I don't want to mention. No, I'll mention names. I remember there was a time, I think, a person known to you and I, Rohan Tatu Korala, who's now the chairman of Satosa. He was with the Export Development Board at that time. He refused to approve some lakhs of Rohit Bogalagama. He resigned. So there were people like that, and also now people are scared even more, which is good because politicians come and go, they use you, they abuse
like
you.
the FCID is a.
I think it's a good thing because they can't push the officials or the diplomats, because what happens, people are scared because either you lose a job or, like you said in one of our programs, that their families are there. But you really can stand up. I remember for the island I interviewed the former senior DIG Kotagadeniya. He said you can't blame the politicians all the time. You should be able to stand up. But if you have earned money, if you have abused, then you're also under obligation. So politicians will try to get you there. They'll try to trap you like you carry files, the files, everybody has a file. So this is what politicians will get the officials or everybody to be corrupt.
But one of the viewers has just sent us a thing saying that when nothing changes, and his answer to why nothing changes is that he says because the public is spineless. Yes. The public is spineless. That's what he says.
Yeah, public as well, but we should stand up. If you really stand up, I mean, people have made that difference. You can't say, okay, if everybody says no, somebody has to start somewhere, but he or she might have to pay the price.
Yeah.
But you got to start somewhere. That's how changes are made. Like, okay, I've heard, and it's not, I mean, let's speak openly, because when President Maithripala Sirisena tried to, decide to move, then this was told to me by Lalit Weeratunga. I mean, let's name names, and he and the former Defence Secretary Gotabaya Rajapaksa had gone to meet him. He has said that, tried to speak to him, I think, but I was told by Ms. Weeratunga was that he was very nice to both of them. But he has told them, look, I am the secretary to the party. I can't even get something done in my electorate without the approval of Basil Rajapaksa. So how do you expect? So what I'm trying to say is, he took after so many years, but even at that latter stage, he had the courage. He decided to move out. So this is what people have.
Let's discuss that point about all-encompassing power after this short break. Do stay tuned to Newsline. We'll be right back.
Newsfirst, Newsline with Faraz Shaukat Ali.
Good morning again, and welcome back to Newsline, where my guest this morning is my colleague, Bandula Jayasekara, former diplomat and senior journalist. Bandula, that was interesting what you were saying about this sort of abuse of power and so on. Now, Mr. Lalit Weeratunga must have been in an unenviable position.
Yes, and I must tell you, I mean, we don't hide anything in this program for us. He told me about 4 years ago.
Yeah.
He said, Bandula, I'm the chief accounting officer. One day I will have to answer to this.
Yeah.
I felt very sorry for him. He said, I will have to answer to this. I'm the chief accounting officer.
But, what was within his mind when he recognized that and yet decided to carry on?
But
is the salary so good?
No, I wouldn't say. See,
or the benefits so
people become helpless. Okay, you have like fears. Right, okay, when they wrong me in New York, right?
Yeah.
I'm going to say this openly, which I'm writing my books, which I will say.
Yeah.
When they wrong me, it was purely part of nepotism. And then I called the foreign secretary at that time, Ramesh Jayasinghe. And I told Ramesh when I was recalled because I was trying to catch a thief who was part of the family, right? And then, I mean, they are trumped up charges. I'm asked to come. So I told Ramesh Jayasinghe, I'm going to come, return to Sri Lanka. Sadly, Ramesh Jayasinghe is no more. That I will come and set myself on fire in front of temple trees. I said that, right? And then when he said now, when Ramesh was a very good, nice diplomat, but he asked me, now you are coming, now we are replacing you with Shavindra Silva. Don't you think it's a good idea here? Excellent diplomat, he's saying. So I told Ramesh, how can you say that? You are sending a serving major general to the height of diplomacy, the United Nations. How could you say that? So people had difficulties. Some people could fight, some people, I had nothing to lose. So this is what really happens. So I still say you can, if your hands are clean, you can fight within the system.
I've got this question. It's from quite an anonymous source. I don't know. Anyway, I'll ask you the question. You were working in the foreign ministry and so was Sajinwas Gunawardena. How was it then in the ministry?
I must tell you, whatever this is, when I have to give a person the respect, I will give that person the respect. To me, during my time, where Professor G.L. Pires was only interested in giving lectures, meeting people, see that his photograph is photoshopped, right? That's all. And about his speeches. But nothing else happened. Whereas, I think, wonderful person in Niomal Pereira, wonderful person, a go-getter, the deputy minister. But Sajin did all the work. People might say things. I mean, Sajin has said, okay, he regrets about the Krishnonis incident. He has said it to people. But he delivered. I know even, I'll tell you, when I was in Sydney, always there were Kenyans working for the ministry, the missions. But he went, any small person, a driver or a laborer could go and speak to him. He stood by. I know of foreign service officials, diplomats have come out crying and said he helped, he was considerate. So I will give him the credit. I'm not perfect, nobody is perfect for running things.
Do you think that Sajin was, like you say, he delivered? He delivered, Is that because authority was delegated and given to him and said, you get on with it?
No, but
is that why?
No, I mean, if you want to do it, you can deliver anywhere.
Right.
So one might say Sajin bulldozed, but he was a doer, he delivered. So you don't need theoreticians. You need to deliver. You need administrators. The foreign secretary, they didn't do much. So he was used as a monitoring MP, but there were other monitoring MPs also. Of course, he had the power, he had the blessings, but he delivered. And I would add things like that. He used to go into detail. That's what I prefer. I mean, I have come from the private sector. When I joined the government sector, he delivered. So that you have to give him the recognition. A lot of people ask this question from me, Faraz, and I say, whatever, I don't know anything else. But as far as the foreign ministry is concerned, he made things work.
Another viewer says that Sajin Was is a good fixer of anything that is broken. So that's fair comment, I suppose.
We need troubleshooters. We need troubleshooters. I have seen him going into details, whether it's menu or the small mans. I'll tell you this in Sinhalese. One of the small, junior officers said, he said, live and let live. This is what when he went and appealed to Sajin, he made sure that others also ate, not only some of these other people. So this is what I've seen him looking after the small people. I'm talking from the drivers or the laborers, the PN's point of view.
I got an email from during the height of the Nonis incident.
Yeah.
I got an email from some chap or lady, whoever, purportedly from London, and said that the driver, the ambassador's driver, was not allowed to use the toilet facilities at the
That is true, because I was
residence.
in London and those people told me. I would say, I knew Chris also well, but that doesn't mean that people can argue, but you can't punch each other, right?
Yeah.
I know that Sajin has regretted it, but I think it's a fight among the Portuguese, right? The Nonis and the Vasas.
Oh, is that what it is?
I think it must be that. But those things were right. I'm not perfect. For us, you're not perfect.
No,
Neither was Chris or Sajin. But unfortunately, it's an unfortunate incident. But Chris also was, he also had his ways.
Right.
He also had his ways. He also, I know him very well.
Yeah. But that was one of the highlights of the. It's amazing. It's a bit like the war, isn't it? Sri Lanka had its war for 30 years, and thousands and tens of thousands of innocent people also died, and the vast majority of the population were traumatized and lived in fear of what would or what may happen. And it is astonishing and disgraceful and hypocritical for the Western world to focus their inquiries on the last 2 months or 3 months.
And I also want to ask you here, where is Chris Nonis today and where Sajin was today?
I haven't heard. Well, we heard of Sajin was in the news yesterday, of course.
So he's there, he's with President Citizen. Where's Chris Nonis?
Right.
This is politics, right?
Well, yes, this is politics. But why do you think? Do you think that we didn't spend enough money on courting the PR companies?
No, you don't need to spend money on PR companies. I'm not harping on myself. When I was in Canada, I have written to the Canadian newspapers. In Australia, I wrote to the Australian newspapers. I was invited by the editorial board. So you can do that. You don't need PR companies. People like Jali fail.
Then you see, these PR companies stood by and watched Gotabaya Rajapaksa and President Rajapaksa both describe, for example, the army commander as the best army commander in the world. These are journalistic flourishes and so on. But then they went on to say, and that I believe is what triggered it all off, when they said that we had 0 civilian casualties. It isn't possible. Those PR guys should have been on the ball and advising these leaders.
We don't need PR. We don't need PR companies. We have to train our diplomats, send them to give a good training, and you should do it. And you should always think out of the box. However, this is what we did. Reach out to the media. You people were willing to engage. This is what and lots of people for us say send reports to the local consumption.
Yeah.
What you do it in Washington doesn't have to appear in the Daily News or the Daily Mirror or the Island.
Yeah.
Appear in those newspapers.
Yeah.
So this is what you need. So, and they think, okay, how many people have written? I must mention names of people like Mr. HMGS Palyakar, a wonderful diplomat, Bernard Gunathilaka. They did their job.
Another viewer, why is it that foreign missions, our foreign missions, are not doing more to develop commercial activities between those countries and Sri Lanka?
I would answer this way. I was a consul general in Sydney. That was established before the embassy in Canberra. It was headed by a trade ministry official. 65 years, there's no Sri Lanka Australia Business Council. My experience, when there was a trade guy came, he said, okay, I want a big house, right? I have my children, I have to send them for education. He did nothing, absolute nothing. So this is where the trade ministry should get involved. They don't do. This is what I agree. They only think they can sell like this some tea in their rooms. They'll have some tea boxes. That's what they do. It's very important. You should send the right people. I would say I'm quite happy with people like Skandakama, who's heading our mission in Canberra.
But I must say this: that when I worked for a Saudi company before, and they wanted to get involved in importing tea, the trade attaché there was absolutely splendid.
No, but there are some good
He
ones.
arranged all the appointments. He faxed them, and he made an agenda so that when the people came from Sri Lankan company, when they came over there, all they had to do was just go here, here, and here.
There are some
and
good
he-
people.
he-
I'm talking
I don't
from
know
experience.
where this man is
No,
now.
I'm saying from Canada, New York, and Sydney. I'm talking through experience. You should go beyond spices. You should think out of the box. So you should be among the people. They don't do that. They try to take some Sri Lankan, we'll say Australian businessman, and work with them.
Yeah.
They were always scared to have I would say, an Australian or a Canadian to head that, whereas where India worked very well with that.
There are other SMSs coming in here, which some of these I can't be reading them out. We'll get sued.
Why?
No, we can't. Some of this is too much. They're being naughty. Now then, very quickly, in the papers, we've got a minute. In the papers, Bandula, tell us about that.
This about Johnston, and you have the
Yes.
Daily Mirror or
Yes.
the Ceylon Today, which this
Yeah.
says
Johnson
Johnson's
violated the Asset
the
Declaration.
Liabilities Act, and he hasn't given his declared for last 5 years. But I'm sorry to say that he's seen with the present president all the time.
Well, he don't know what it is. But what I'm trying to say is, before we had Mr. Sajin Waskanawadana being remanded and so on,
Yeah.
on some basis that he hadn't
Yeah.
given his asset declaration. But why isn't this chap being remanded then?
Yeah.
And 40 odd other people.
And he's involved in this Satosa racket. Nothing is happened.
So the investigations are dragging along. Well, as we have come to the end of our time, unfortunately we can't ask you about that lovely story about Vimal Veerawans and you.
Of course,
had a bit of a-
of course I tried to find. He's a pseudo socialist.
Yes.
That was in Cuba. I mean,
Oh, I love the word.
of course, he's a pseudo socialist. He's a hypocrite. And
Yeah.
of course, I'm quite glad to say that I have fought with 7 ministers
Good
in the
Lord.
previous government. That's what I can stay like this.
Bandula Jayasekara, thank you for having entertained us with that, and thank you for sharing the stories. On that note, thank you for watching Newsline. I hope you've enjoyed this thing, which we're going to do once a fortnight. And in the meantime, have a great day, take care, and God bless.